Well, hi, Lee.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. How's everything up in the Great White North?
It's freaking cold, man. We're
Yeah.
-7 right now. So
Wow.
you should get what you
Well,
sign up for.
it's 68 degrees here today.
Are you okay?
I'm,
Is-
I'm
you-
good.
I see
It,
you got a bit of a sweater on. You surviving all right?
I'm doing. I took the puppy out for a walk, so I wanted to make sure I was appropriately dressed when I took her. Okay, I have a much thinner coat of than I used to have. So
No, no. There's not a lot of insulation on my body. There never has been. So it's definitely layers just about every day, honestly.
yeah. Well, it's good to see you. And Efren, good evening from I've got people from two different unique time zones. I've got Lee in Alaska and I've got Efren in European Central.
Oh,
Yeah. Pulling up some stuff here real quick. We'll get started in a couple minutes there. It's usually they're on time, which is the norm. Meanwhile, I was on hold forever dealing with TRICARE. So much fun. And come to find out, I didn't need to call him today, which is great. I kind of knew that, but I have a new doctor, so I needed to do what he said. CC, how are you? Can't hear you, ma'am. I cannot hear you.
you trying? No.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Good
Okay.
morning.
I'm driving back home, so I'll turn my video off.
Were you driving home from a job or an interview or what?
I'm at the vet with my dog.
Okay, gotcha. I hear you. Well, good to have you.
I can barely
Aaron?
hear you.
Aaron,
Yeah, top of the morning.
top of the morning to you, sir. Thank you for helping me today. Okay,
Oh, sure, absolutely.
we have two new arrivals today. So we've got Lee and Efren here. And there are two uniquely different time zones. I believe it's like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in your part of the world. Lee
For me, yes.
and Efren, you're over there is like what time is it there in Germany, in Ramstein?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, all right. It's about a minute away from 5 o'clock.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I remember those days. All right. We'll get started in just a second. Aaron, what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about a couple things and we'll do a recap of the last spotlight, and then we'll have everybody do their wins and challenges that are newcomers, and we'll allow Lee and Efren to introduce themselves. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Guys,
Yeah.
glad to have you on here. Nice to meet y'all. Look forward to this hour.
Meanwhile, I'm doing the attendance. Okay.
10 a.m.
Yeah, copy that.
All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Nathan, how are you doing, sir? How's the job treating you?
Pretty well. How about you?
Fantastic. And let's see here. Looking at everybody. Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. All right. Okay. Hello, Jill. And Irma, hello. When we last had everybody, we didn't really have a spotlight. We were talking a lot about, a couple of you were talking about going back to the gym. A couple of you were looking at closing up some of the gaps in your process. Some of us are trying to stay warm, among other things. So there wasn't really a spotlight. So what we do, Lee and Efren, is we usually put a spotlight and we say, okay, so we talked to you 3 weeks ago about this. We had a spotlight on this. What did you learn from that? What can you share with the group as far as the accountability that we want you to have in this process? Okay. So that being said, Aaron, I'm gonna let you do the wins and challenges portion, and then I'll interject as needed. Over to you, sir.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Matt. Lee and Efra, we'll save you for last so you can see how this goes a little bit. What we do is we're going to highlight. We're going to go around the table and do 2 to 3 wins and 2 to 3 challenges that you faced within the last 2 weeks. We'll just keep it kind of short, but we do this to ensure we hold each other accountable in regards to celebrating wins and know how much progress we've made, and then also addressing some challenges that we can also talk and learn about from each other here. So who would like to start? All right, Jill, hit it.
So some wins for me is that I had a really good conversation with Don a couple of weeks ago, and he put a lot of things in perspective for me. And I acknowledged that I was very tunnel visioned on some things, and I wasn't looking at the bigger picture around me. So that was a win for me. And I can't say that I've had any challenges in the past few weeks. Things have been going really good for us.
That's outstanding, Jill. And is this regards to your husband's employment in your company there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Good stuff. All right, who'd like to go next?
Yeah, I can go ahead.
Yeah, Brian.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So a couple wins was I scheduled to have my meeting with Onward to Opportunity this Thursday. Was one of my things I wanted to be held accountable for. So trying to get in with them prior to the 180-day mark. We'll see if that works. Other win was I had my first interview phone screening with a company. So definitely a learning experience, and it was good. And some of my challenges from that is update my resume, right? Kind of work on that stuff that I learned from the interview. And then if I can't get into Onward to Opportunity early, trying to figure out what's the way I want to move ahead forward by personally paying for HR certifications. So that's what I got. Appreciate seeing everybody today.
Thanks, Brian. That's right. You're trying to get into O2O a couple months early, right? Yeah, I remember talking about that.
Correct. Yep.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Brian. Good luck. Keep us updated.
Hey, I've got a question for you. And Brian, I'm going to look into this. I believe there are opportunities through the Syracuse program. I can't think of it. It'll come to me and I will send you that link, because there's ways that you can get that professional training taken care of without you having to spend money on that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the one. Onward to Opportunity is the one through Syracuse University that I'm trying to get into early before, because it's kind of like a skill bridge connection where you can't do it until you're 180 days out from separation. But I want to get that course done before I apply for jobs in the April-May timeframe. So that would miss my timeline. So
I think there's other ways to skin that cat. Let me do some thinking about that. I put a note to you about that. Then I'm going to get back.
Yeah,
to you, okay? All right.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Brian, before we move on, can you answer, are you Army, Air Force, and are you enlisted? Can you use Air Force Cool, Army Cool?
Enlisted in the Marine Corps. So we do have a cool program, but for the HR certifications, it only goes so far. You have to pay for, I think, the majority of that senior HR certification if you use the cool program.
All right, throw your email in the chat, and I might send you some stuff. So, all
Yeah,
right,
cool.
thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, who'd like to go next?
Blake's got his hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Blake.
Sure.
Floor is yours.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. I'll be on video here shortly. So wins, we just wrapped up our cohort at Indiana Wesleyan University. That went well. And I've been catching up and staying diligent on my task and staying ahead of things. That's what I've been wanting to keep it accountable on. I even got all of my inbox unread emails cleared out, which was, I don't think I've ever done that before. So that was exciting. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much the biggest ones for me.
Nice, Blake. That email, it's the little things, right? Getting
Oh, yeah.
those distractors out of the way. Yeah, good job.
Like making your bed.
Exactly. Yeah. If you haven't read it, read it again. All right. Who's next? Let's see. Still got it. Christine, I don't think we can hear you if you're talking to us.
Okay, my win was that I did start moving my WordPress site to another site with my daughter. I can share the link, but it's not finished. And it's neat to kind of work with her on some of these data skills. She's more of like a developer. So anyway, and then I working on this data and AI strategy course. And it's very exciting. I'm learning about something called AI governance. I think it's going to be something new that's really going to be big and powerful in the business world. So other than that, you know, things are going smooth. Everybody's happy. Nobody's fighting in the house. So that's good. Yay.
I'm hearing a lot of not hefty challenges. So that's kind of good as we wrap up the end of the year. All right. Cece or Irma, would you like to go next? I know you're traveling, so go ahead, Irma.
I'm doing my best to figure out some wins in there. It seems like these last 2 weeks have been riddled with challenges. I have my first interview on Wednesday. Hold on. Okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry. Wait 1 second. Remember, mommy's on the phone. You gotta wait a minute, okay? Yes, ma'am. Go sit down, please. Thank you. Sorry about that. So it's been riddled with challenges and trying to work things through. Everybody's been on my case, my close friends and family, about starting up my LLC. And I went on LegalZoom, started it and stopped. I printed off the applications to do it myself, started and stopped. It's just you know, trying to be cost effective with it, with one income, 3 kids, pulled one out of daycare, you know, challenges with that. Just, yeah. So just trying to figure it out. It's all one big scramble. But I did put my resume out there some more, and I do have another pending interview. They did call me to talk to me some more about it. So I have the interview with American on Wednesday, and then the other one is with not district attorney, the Department of Child Support Services, Office of the Attorney General. There you go. So
Wow.
I know I have something kind of working with that a little bit now.
And when you say American, Irma?
American Airlines.
Yeah. I recall you bringing that up a couple of cohorts ago. All right, and the key to those are following up. So I like that win. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Irma.
No problem.
All right, who we got left here?
Got Nathan
Cece's coming online.
and Cece.
Yeah.
And sorry.
My wins has been I've got my personal trainer and I'm starting my workouts and stuff like that. So that's good. That was my challenge or something. And then And then my challenges is pretty much getting back into work mode because I start work on Monday. So I gotta get back into the meal prepping and all that good stuff. So it is.
Well, you got all week to prep for that, right? So good for you, CC. And congrats again.
Thank you.
All right, Nathan, you're up.
Morning. So challenge wise, my starter in my car decided to die in the middle of the night while I was out. So I had to get that replaced. Also doing a long stretch at work this week. I've been working every night since Thursday night, and I will for the rest of the week. So getting through 12 hours each night for 10 nights straight, but it'll be worth it when I get the paycheck afterwards. Wins, I got my VSO, so I have gotten my claim started, or at least hope to start it here pretty soon. And I've got my car all nice and clean. I just need to make sure my apartment gets this clean as well.
All right, thanks. And take care of yourself, man. Working that hard. So, all right, Lee or Efren, you want to step up to the plate?
Wait a minute, we forgot Gavin.
Did we? Yeah, certainly did. Gavin?
Gavin and Nathan, yeah.
We just finished up with Nathan. This will be Gavin here. Let's see if he's got us.
Type something in
Yeah,
chat.
so yeah, Gavin put his in the
Hey,
chat.
sorry, I'm
not
getting
sure when
stitches
you-
out right now, so.
Yeah, we are. Okay.
I'm listening only.
Yep.
Hey, how about some dedication, Gavin? How about some dedication? Just stitches, that's it?
All right, with that little bit of confusion, we'll move on. I think we got everybody, Matt. We're going to move on to Lee.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I guess just a brief introduction. So Lee Mills up in Alaska, retiring out of the Air Force after 30 years, looking into HR roles. Been in a SkillBridge now for a little over a month. I've got 2 months until my official retirement date on the 1st of February. To jump into, I guess the wins is the network is working. I've had several jobs pushed my way, actually interviewed and was a finalist for a state job that I actually withdrew from, which was incredibly hard because it was the first one and it was an opportunity, but it didn't feel right. And I'm taking the advice of don't jump at the first thing if it doesn't feel right, which I can tell you with not having a guaranteed paycheck is a tough thing to do, but I think it was the right decision. Another win is I spent about 2 hours last night trying to find my wedding band, and I found it in a box from Amazon, and it somehow slipped off my finger. So I was very grateful for that. I think some challenges right now is kind of that state job, finding the right fit. I've done a lot of informal interviews for open job positions and just learned before I even threw my hat in the ring that it was not going to be a good situation. LinkedIn profile, gotten beaten up on that by so many different ways and just trying to figure out what does right look like there. Made some edits to that, but it's gotten honestly frustrating everyone has an idea of what right looks like. So hopefully I can get some good pointers here. Working on a SHRM cert is challenging, and Air Force Cool is not fast to reply. So I just missed the training class window because I didn't approve my stuff fast enough. And then not to be a downer, but and I know some of y'all probably love them, but I have been battling with Salute to Suits for 10 months to get the stuff that I ordered and they've committed to providing me. And I'm got a text queued up right now. I'm so done with that right now. But outside of that, it's minus 10 degrees and I don't want to go outside to go to work today, but I have to. So we'll make it happen.
Awesome. Lee, I like your insight. The network is working. You see the benefits of that networking piece, and you can definitely get in the right place for the LinkedIn help, as you probably already know with Matt. So, before I move on real quick, I got to keep this brief, but Salute to Suits, reach out to me on the side. My mentor when I was transitioning is actually he assists closely with them. So if you've got an issue, maybe I can elevate it directly up. So
I'm dealing directly with A-Rod and have been since the beginning. So I don't know that I can escalate it any more than trying to get him to do what he's committed to. So love the guy, but ready to get this over with.
Got it. All right, Efren, it's all yours. Wrap this session up.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm excited about this opportunity. I'm excited about meeting everyone. So I'm coming up on my, just like Lee, in about 4.5 months, I'll come up on my 30-year mark. I'm in my early stages of looking at skills bridge program. My challenges have been so far, figuring out how to get those interviews through the skills bridge program. I believe my initial start when my resume was all over the place. I'm in the United States Air Force, and what my background is, Force Support Squadron. So we touch, a lot of touch points out there across the installation. So I think I figured out that based off some of the advice and coaching I received, to stick to like 3 fields. And I'm starting to figure out that there's so much information out there. That's very challenging. So my wins are that I'm narrowing down about where my sources are at. And I'm expecting, based off my initial introduction with some of the folks on this team, is that I'm gonna stick to this, and this is what it feels right. So I like that. My other challenges are, I would say, is I'm in Ramstein. It's one of the of course busiest bases out there. I know there's others, but stepping back and not feeling guilty about my responsibilities to the organization as the in the position I have. So that's very hard, and trying to set myself up for success as I transition out. So that I'm having a hard time of not feeling guilty. So I'm working through that. My resume, I think I've started to get more positive feedback that I'm actually not all over the place anymore. So I think that's a win. Another win is I'm on the verge of starting my benefits disability review, whatever that's called, so I can start my VA stuff. So I'm very close on going and see the VA folks so they can help me process that before I leave Ramstein. And another win is let me see, I got a couple of interviews for potential skills bridge programs, so I'm excited about that. And the people that I'm working with sound like they really want to help me and get me through the process. I started with another hiring our heroes. I haven't been very happy with them, so I'm steering away from them. I'm going to some other folks, and it seems like this it's going to be very helpful. However, my other challenge, my last challenge is, I have a lot of them, but is getting informational interviews, and that's what I'm hearing. I'm focused on like HR, diversity, inclusion, and some other one other thing, but I don't know how to go about informational interviews. That's where I'm stuck right now. And everyone keeps saying that you need to do those if you're going to hit certain fields. So thank you very much.
Efren, I'd like to introduce you to Slack. It's a website that MTR set up, and I just this week loaded a very this is a play on words I'm not intending to do, but informational interviews that I stole from a website at the University of Berkeley. We'll get that link over to you so you can grab that, and maybe I can, if I got a moment, I'll try to throw that into the chat. Lee, did you have something real quick with for Efren?
Yeah, so Efren, what is it that you do? I'm sorry. What's your job?
Force Support Squadron.
Okay. So I finished as the command chief for JBEAR here in Alaska. And I can tell you, if you don't just let your mind go and realize you got to take care of yourself in this time frame, man, I was almost put in the hospital because I was trying to do it all and take care of and do what I needed to do until I was finally honest with my boss. Like, I can't do the 50, 60-hour weeks and do my transition, and finally was able to break clean. And it was a mental relief. So I'm learn from me, right? Love to share that, learn from my mistakes of trying to finish strong and not be a road guy or whatever. Man, I can tell you, the day after my ceremony, the Air Force moved on and no one was talking about me, right? So if you're struggling with that, just please heed these words, man. It's got to be about you a lot more right now, because that's what you need to get set up.
Couldn't have said it better, Lee. Awesome. Matt, that wraps up this piece of the hour. I'm going to kick it back over to you.
So I thought maybe you would like to see, I've heard a couple things. I like the informational interviews. I'd like to maybe focus on that. Maybe we'll do 1 or 2 topics. Is there some other burning topic that we'd like to discuss right now in the group. Informational recon is a good one. Lee, you had your mic off. Is there something else?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is a big one for me. So I
Okay.
don't know how much you guys have hit that already.
Oh, well, we always come back to it from time to time. And so Don, who was going to be here but had to go be somewhere else, he would tell you that you can look at the connection. So I'm gonna take his lesson, and what I'm gonna talk about here is, and I'd like everybody to think about this. You're talking about informational reconnaissance. Aaron Leroy, who is one of our new facilitators, can tell you that he's learned that through time and effort. Basically, it's when you're talking to someone, you're reaching out to someone, hey, I need a job, can you help me? That doesn't work on LinkedIn, okay? What Don would tell you, and I'm full agreement with, is you look at someone, right? And you see that person looks interesting. So Efren, you mentioned diversity, right? Okay. So just imagine that I'm looking for someone that I think is a subject matter expert on diversity. I find that person, I connect with that person, or I follow that person. But the other thing I would do is there's a bell on LinkedIn. And if that person's someone you want to, hear from all the time, you click that bell, and that bell says, oh, whenever, I'll give you an example here. I'm gonna pull this up as I'm speaking, because let's see here. Give me a second to pull this up.
And Efren, I posted the link to that guide. It's in the chat.
So, for example, this guy right here is a Marine E9. I can never get the actual nomenclature. I know how to call people chiefs. I know how to call him sergeant major, but I'm not sure if he's, he's got one of those special Marine designations. But here's what I mean, okay? What I do is, if I really like what that person says, I'm going to go up here. Thank you, LinkedIn. Stop. All right, this is Scott Stalker from Boston. All right. There you go. So, you see that bell right there, guys? When you click on that bell, like I'm doing now, I'll get notified about his post, okay? So if I was wanting to have him as an influencer, then every time he posted something that I thought was of value, I would comment on that and not just like it, okay? So I get a lot of posts where you like it, but really if you want to be engaging, you want to get noticed, write a comment on the post. But this is just a very simple tip, that's how you build influence. So Efren and Lee and everybody in this group, if you see someone that you're following or someone says, hey, that person like Michael Brownfield or Aaron Leroy, he's someone you want to get to know, then you punch that little bell, and that will give you a notification every time he or she is making a significant post. So, thoughts, comments?
Matt, what do you think? I did this a few times. What do you think when you're reaching out or you're making a comment like you just did to somebody that's in that field? For me, emergency management,
Right.
Department of Homeland Security. Occasionally, I would comment on it in a positive nature, but then I would also ask the question of the from the author. What do you think about that? If they see it, hopefully the thought process there is that they've been re-engaged and we're starting to now have a conversation. What are your thoughts there?
I love it. In fact, I just did a post yesterday about banners, and because Canva just released a whole bunch of new banner templates, I was like, and I listed a good one and a bad one, and then someone says, well, can you give us some more? Of course. So I love when people say, I'm really interested in this topic. Let's have a further discussion. So yes, by all means, ask good questions.
And to the group, following what I've learned from MTR here, doing stuff like that and making those comments, what's interesting, that first 12 months during transition, LinkedIn Premium is free to you and the spouse.
Right.
You make a comment and on an influencer like that, And it's interesting, you'll look at the end of the week and you've got 7, 8, 10 folks looking at your profile, because you can see that with the premium account, that are all connected with them. And that's honestly how I got recruited for my FEMA position, is asking a question in the Department of Homeland Security or space. And then all of a sudden I started getting attention. But, I'm getting attention. And so I reached out to those folks that looked at my page and asked for those informational interviews. And lastly, you're looking for information, and you got to let them know that you're not looking for a job. You're looking for information to help you out, because they want to talk about themselves and they want to help out veterans as well.
Yeah, in fact, Blake, you were in a meeting a couple months ago where one of the persons where I spoke, they said, well, I don't want to reach out to people. It's like, time out here, okay? I'm calling, rhymes with B, ends with, I'm calling bovine on that, okay? I'm not going to use a nice Christian word, but I'm calling you on that, okay? People want to help you, but you have to do it in the context of, well, I saw that you posted this, and this is what's interested in me. So like my friend Brian Stacy, who is my favorite New England Patriots fan and Red Sox fan, it's like, how do you put it in context of, hey, I see that you're an expert in HR. Maybe you can help me the path for getting that free, finding out what's the right resources that I might use. I mean, that's the kind of thing where you're looking at something that they posted on whatever interests you and say, hey, I know she did this. But better yet, go into that person's profile and start looking at key things. So you know what? If you don't mind, Aaron, I'm gonna pull your profile up and we're gonna look at some clues together. Can we do that?
Uh-oh. Okay.
Oh, wow, I've seen it.
Yeah, no worries.
Keep talking while I pull that up, sir, okay? Because you're like,
Well, yeah, I said this a couple of months ago, but we've got a couple new folks in here. But Ephraim talked about trying to narrow his scope, and that's one of how I explain my success story with MTR. Is I being a degree meteorologist in the Air Force and working at the staff level and special operations level, I knew I wanted to stay engaged working with communities, and I thought, well, the only thing that makes sense is emergency management. And so I went to our local county here in San Antonio's emergency management EOC and seeking a skill bridge opportunity. Quickly learned that I think Lieutenant Aaron Leroy would have been happy with that, but I would be bored. And I quickly realized county EM is not where I want to be. I want to be at that larger national level. And so I was able to completely left and righted my ship using Don and Matt and the personality test that we did, and then just talking it out. And then started doing these information interviews and started overreaching things that I thought were too far for me. And before you know it, they're like, no, we're actually afraid you're going to be bored with us. And I'm like, nope, I'll take it. So I learned that I didn't want to do this over here. And for me, it was local EM. And I started looking at the state of Texas and then nationally and things of that nature. So yeah, just finding that scope. And like Ephraim, you said you were looking at, and having those informational interviews, you'll start getting answers that you didn't know you had questions to. And then all of a sudden you're learning where you want to be and where you definitely don't want to be.
and so to my point is that you built the relationship. You didn't just say, hey, let's talk about a job.
Exactly.
You actually engage people. And that's the part that is kind of difficult for most people, is like you look at a person's profile, or you see an article that person's written, or you see some kind of information, you reach out to them and you do it in context. Hey, I noticed you wrote this on this, like emergency management, in low coastal areas might be an example of something you might have seen it and say, hey, I like what you wrote about this. Let's look at a way to talk about it. And this is what I liked about it, because people like to be flattered. Okay. They do.
Exactly. Yep. And talk about themselves.
They do. They like to talk to about themselves. So, again, one of the things that I will tell you is you can also look at a person's activity. Okay. So in Aaron's case, he's pretty active, right? You can see all activity, but there's people out there that haven't been active for more than 90 days. You're not going to get anything from that person. You might, but the likelihood is really, really low. So my lovely bride, who does this because I asked her to, come on. Right. Here's a good example of someone that's not real active. No banner, that's one indicator. But here's indicator number 2. Activity. Right? 1 month, she's done one activity, and that's because I had her reach out to one of our other cohorts, daughters who wants to be a scientist. Brian, you got your hand up.
I do. Thanks, Matt. I just wanted to ask if Efron has a LinkedIn account. I looked for him, can't find him. I don't know if there's something I'm missing or if my search is messed up.
Efren?
Yes, I do have one.
Cool. I see that you dropped that in the chat. Thanks. I would just say I'm also looking for HR positions. In the past 11 months, I've done over 100 informational interviews. Still not looking for a job until May of next year. So I'd love to catch up after this and just kind of give you some of the tips and pointers and tricks and things that I've done. Right. Everybody's situation is different, but I think I could be able to add some value to what you're trying to get after.
I appreciate it. I'll do that.
So,
Yeah,
Efren,
shoot me an email.
so Brian, you said you've done 100 informational interviews. How'd you set those up?
So I've done over 100. So January of this year was my New Year's resolution, knowing my timeline was coming. So I got on LinkedIn. I had about 12 connections. I got over 800 now. I made a free Calendly account for myself. Anybody can do it, and it kind of makes you look like you're tech savvy. I have no idea what I'm doing. It works, right? And just reaching out on LinkedIn. I know where I want to be by where I want to live. I know what I want to do in HR manager type things. And I just found some companies that I think would be good for me. And then I just go right into their company LinkedIn accounts, put HR into the search when you go to people, and I'll start all the way from the HR, the head of HR, all the way down to people who I think do the job that I want to do. Reach out to them cold. I got a couple templated ways to reach out if they're a veteran, if they're a hiring manager, whoever they are, just asking for 10 or 15 minutes of their time to kind of understand what they do and kind of give them a quick background of who I am, what my timeline is. And I've been able to get the head of HR from Raytheon reached back to me and then got me an interview with the head of recruiting for Raytheon, right? Just as a cold reach out. She's not a veteran. She's just the head of HR, but I use it as scorched earth. Just hit everybody up, right? If I send 10, maybe I'll get one, but great, right? I don't care. So that's how I've kind of done it. And then every time I end the interview, I ask them who else I should talk to, and then you just keep that ball rolling.
I love the word scorched earth. You're a testimony to the power of networking in LinkedIn. Okay. Gavin, you got your hand up. You had something you would like to say, sir?
Yeah, LinkedIn's been a great tool. I don't know if I've hit 100 yet, but I'm probably closing in since I started doing informational interviews. But a thing I've been doing, because I'm in Baltimore right now, currently moving down to DC, and I want to stay around DC. So I've been really pushing hard into like the in-person networking events to make those personal connections if possible. So like, wherever you're at, if you want to stay there, I would definitely like seek out those, professional development in-person courses or coffee meetups or whatnot. Because just a face-to-face interaction is I think that much better as opposed to like a Zoom call. If you're not where you want to be, you're kind of limited. But there's still opportunity for those informational interviews or even those larger networking events. Like I think Shift 15 is like an HR website or like a website for HR managers that I actually joined because I was thinking of maybe going in that direction. But there's so many like organizations you can join for like industry focus that you could just start joining in their networking events, glean information from them, make connections, see who like the movers or shakers are within that field, and kind of expand from there.
So I have a question for you. I know you got your hand up, Aaron. How do you figure out if that person's a mover and shaker? What's your criteria?
For me, it's a little bit of, if in the actual networking event, how they're talking, who they're engaging with, how they're engaging with people, kind of like the quality of their engagement. I sat in on an HR thing and some people were like, this was like August, and some people were like, what's quiet quitting? And I was like, all right, in my mind, I was like, you're not the best HR person, because that's been a thing that's been around for a long time. The term has changed, but I wouldn't reach out to that person because it doesn't seem like they're really engaged with their own profession. But somebody who's like leading the conversation, I would reach out to them.
And let me ask you another question. How would you reach out to them? What's your follow-up with them?
LinkedIn is a great tool, but one thing I found in a different industry like consulting, not everybody is very active on LinkedIn. So I would go on the company's website and find their email and actually cold email them, just because, yeah, their activity was low on LinkedIn. Or I would try to find mutual connections and ask for mutual connections on LinkedIn or even Facebook, and try to ask friends to set me up with a conversation.
That's some really good insight. You know, we've talked about this from time to time because everybody always thinks that I'm always the LinkedIn guy, which I am up to a point, but that's not the only way that you connect with people. You know, it could be a text, it could be a phone call, it could be an email, you know, it could be a Facebook post. Everybody has to me, there's 5 or 6 different ways people can communicate, and to know which is the best one is always important to pick that up. So thank you for sharing that, Gavin. Good to see you. I read that your surgery is doing well, and I'm glad to hear that, my friend.
Thank you.
Aaron, you had your hand up and then you dropped your hand. What were you going to say, sir?
Oh, just real quick, just coming in on Brian's tactic. I really liked that. I wanted a foot stomp for the group. I'm sure Brian, and you can tell me yes or no, but you make that message already and you just copy and pasting it, right? So 1 or 2 sentences of introduction, you're in transition, you're interested in talking with them, and you copy and paste. I like that. My attack was very similar. But I tended to do number one, what Matt just taught us, and what he taught me was the activity piece. So we talked about scope earlier with Efren, getting that field, and then you start to find those handful of maybe a half a dozen companies. What I would do is I find success in actually seeing the activity, number one. And number two, I actually did reach out to veterans. I'd go on their profile. I found that they responded a lot faster. And they would, say, hey, brother, what can I do for you? And one of the companies that I ended up not going with was because I talked with 3 middle level folks. One was a CGO, 2 were prior enlisted, 1 separated, the other retired. All 3 worked for this company. And I quickly learned they were already looking for another place after 12 to 15 months. And the recruiter was already reaching me out from that company. So I quickly realized, and it was remote and it was 110 starting, and it all sounded good, but they're like, you don't want to work here. And it's doing stuff like that that really, really helps you. Again, going back to steering that ship where you want to land. Like Lee said, he had an offer already, and he's like, it doesn't really feel that right. So he's going to hold off. So, but I wanted to mention that tactic that you used, Brian. Good stuff.
So I see that Don is joining us. Hello, Don. We were talking about informational interviews, and I shared your concept about how to engage people, and then I shared with them the follow-up process that we talked about.
I was hoping you saw the slides I sent them about 20 minutes before the meeting.
I didn't see them because I was busy taking care of some other things, but
okay.
I did follow the context of what you were talking about, and we've been having a really spirited discussion about really work. What's really been impressive is that some people in this group have done some really amazing things in informational interviews. And so since we got some newcomers here, Efren and Lee, I hope that helped them. I know it's helped other people in the group. Okay.
That's excellent. Excellent. I'm going to be posting today the Bunker Labs. I was just on their webinar. You can see we're even advertising our banner back here. Look at that.
Yeah.
So be posting that. We just did a 30-minute interview about MTR and transition, and of course, being Giving Tuesday, a great opportunity to put the word out there for donations for us. And we'll talk that more later. But sorry to be late, but great opportunity to spread the gospel of MTR. And thanks, Aaron, for stepping in.
So we were just kind of doing like a couple of different topics. So the first topic was the informational interviews. I think the second one is how do you say no? Okay, so Lee, you were just sharing a few minutes ago how you came up with the idea that it was time to let somebody else take your place. And I know Efren, you're facing the same thing because both of you are senior military non-commissioned officers with responsibility for a lot of people. What caused you to want to say, hey, boss, it's time for me to take care of my transition? What was where was the turning point on that?
So I'll just share for me. So it's good to have a wife that gives you the real deal, and realizing that as I'm sitting on my couch trying to watch TV and she looks over and I'm just doing this with my hands and I can't stop, that the stress level has hit a critical stage. And she's like, you've got to talk to somebody and you've got to tell your boss that this isn't working. And so I went in and I had said some things to my boss. I didn't realize that it pissed her off. And she told me about it afterwards. I don't even remember saying it. She wanted something done. And I apparently had said, well, I got a lot of things I got to do. And so I finally just laid it out for her. I was like, this is what's going on in my life right now. I'll be honest, she's amazing, did my retirement ceremony, but her response wasn't what I really needed to hear at that moment when she said, tell me about it. They're coming to get my household goods next week. That's so completely different than what I'm going through right now. You know, you're going to your next job. I'm trying to find out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So, so just finally having that conversation, but my wife is the one that pushed me to say, you got, something's got to give. Either you got to quit trying to transition or you got to start stepping back. And so I reached out to the guys that have been offering me help for months to say, man, what can we take off your plate? And I was like, I got it. I got it, to finally say, hey, I need you to take some of these meetings. And then frankly, I got a new boss in who was like, your focus is rotating out. I'll find you if I need you. And that's really what I needed.
Did your supervisor think that her PCS into the next duty station and your transitioning out of the service were equal?
That's how I took that comment when I said, I've got a lot on my plate. I'm trying to figure this thing out. And her response was, tell me about it. My household goods pickup is next week. And I'll share with you, I want to apologize to so many people because I know they've been 2 weeks out from retirement. I've been like, where are they? I need this answered, because you don't know until you're in it. You don't know what it's like. You're like, oh, you're getting out. What's the big deal? You're going to go goof off. And so it was a hard lesson learned that there's a lot to this transition thing that continues now. I've been doing this for a year, trying to prepare to figure out what this is versus oh crap, I got to write down all my valuable items so they can send it to my next job. Completely different.
Yeah, one thing I've been trying to think of is how, being a retired colonel, how do I get out to the colonels, lieutenant colonels, the chiefs, the seniors, and let them know it is a different process, right? It's not just, hey, the government's telling me to move from here. They've already, TMO's already got my setup for the pickup. You just have to reach out and they set everything up. You got to do it all in your own transition, right? You got to figure out, what do you want to do? How do I have informational conversations where you just went? How do I create a network? How do I find the job? How do I write the resume? How do I write links? Yeah, go on and on. You're exactly right, Lee.
That's kind of why I brought that up, because we have a lot of people at different ranks, but it's still the process where you have to say, look, we're coming to the point where you've got to figure out what's going to happen after I leave.
Yeah.
Gavin, you had your hand up again, sir. Okay.
May have walked away.
He might. He's driving somewhere. I think.
There he is. No.
No, I didn't mean to, but Lee, I agree with that point. Even looking back, like I kicked out some people during my career, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have like given them some knowledge. Even just getting kicked out is a whole different thing, but looking back, I wish I could have given them a little bit better context to navigate that transition too.
Hey, Brian, you have your hand up, sir.
Yeah, thanks. So I have a great ACP mentor who, our first call, he kind of identified it as like, we've done for 40 years, like we've had this balance of, we've put the mission first and everything else has been down here. Whereas we transition, it has to come this way, but then it's going to come where you are that top priority in your families that way, right? So everybody's different, everybody's transition has a different timeline, but trying to identify how that scale is moving and when it needs to shift all the way to you, or not all the way, but mostly to you, right? To take care of all those things we're talking about is kind of something you have to sit down with your family and mentors and stuff to understand how and when that scale is going to shift, and making sure everybody in the chain understands, like, hey, I'm here to help if I need to, but it's going to shift that way at a point.
Blake?
I think to Brian's point, a big part of the challenge that comes with transition is not just that shift between like mission focused versus, now my family's focus. It's the bullwhip effect of, the big gap between once you get out, there's no longer that mission focus hardly anywhere that you could find. So a lot of veterans start seeking out their own little mission, and that big swing effect is what creates a lot of problems. I know I've seen it in my life, and I've seen it in a lot of veterans' lives. They get too hyper focused on things, and it wrecks their everything else around them.
Lee, you have your hand up, sir.
Yeah, just one other thing I'd like to hit on is also my attentions were misplaced. I was working on resumes a year out. That is such a waste of time. I didn't know what job I was looking. I wasn't targeting anything. So shifting gears to, okay, no kidding, what do I need to be building? I need to be building my network more than I need to be focused on this resume that really doesn't speak to any job that's out there. That really should have started probably 5 months out. I started a year out, right? And I'm sending it to people and they're like, well, what job is it for? I don't know. Well, I can't really help you. And that was frustrating, but now I understand a general resume doesn't get you anything. And if you're just sending resumes out without tailoring it to the jobs, then you're really setting yourself up for failure. And so as I talk through that, it's also understanding how to compartmentalize, prioritize the military side of things. What truly do I need to have to be at? What do I really need to be there for? And what really should I be working on this timeline to get things squared away? And life insurance being one of them, which I've failed at it miserably. And I'm currently trying to get mine set up, and I'm 2 months from retirement, but get that done before you go in and get all your stuff documented, because the terminology matters. Be like, oh, you need to get your life insurance before you get your rating. No, you need to get it before you start going to see that doctor that year out or whatever to get everything documented. So I'm waiting to see what that price tag is going to look like. So I'm off my soapbox. Thanks.
And I like where you are on that soapbox, and you bring up a good point about talking to professional life insurance and other people that are well determined, because there's been a significant change from when I retired, where you got this SGLI, you got SGLI, now you have options. So I definitely would encourage you to get 2 or 3 different perspectives on that and talk to people that are knowledgeable about what your financial goals are as well.
And Lee just nailed it. And that was my number one point with the Bunker Labs folks, right? I have 3 things, right? What do you want to do next? Then it's the networking to validate that you want to do it, find out what it's really like. And then 3 is sell your value. Too many people try to sell their value, write the resume and do the LinkedIn profile first. And Matt and I try to both take you back and say, hey, what is it you really want to do? What's your why? What's your skills? I'm in a number of conversations on LinkedIn right now with people who are like, I'm getting out in 6 months. I want to do this. Well, have you talked to anybody about that? What is it that drives you to want to do that? Not being judgmental, but tell me some background, right? Is it just because engineers get high pay, but are you really going to enjoy it? So that's great stuff, Lee.
That's that classic PMP conversation when you hear from people.
Yeah.
Because someone said it was free and they thought I would like it, but have you really talked to someone that does that on a day-to-day basis? This is that informational reconnaissance that we're talking about here, guys. It's like, is this what I really want to do? Is this where I see myself in 3 to 5 years? I think that's a good question. What do I see myself doing in 3 to 5 years? I just met a guy by the name of William Tody, who's written a really great book from CEO to CEO, and I'm listening to what he talks about the runway. What does the employer expect and what do you expect? What's your timeline, for success when you leave the military? This is not something they're going to get it in transition school. The military transition program says resume, resume, resume. I had $100 every time I heard I got to get my resume. It's like, really? Why don't you figure out what you want to do first, right? And then we'll get that targeted resume, and then we'll get that targeted LinkedIn, because LinkedIn can go from like informational to, really targeting the people you want to meet and come into contact. We're down to 10 minutes there. And so what I'd like to do, because we got a couple things we want to cover as well, I'd like to talk about, Ken, what are we going to hold you accountable for the next 2 weeks? Who would like to start this aspect of it?
I'll go first, Matt, if that's all right.
Okay.
So for the next 2 weeks, finishing up this long week here at work, making sure I get back in the gym, because, be working these long hours, I can't go after work. It gets really busy. So once I'm done with this long stretch, get back in the gym, keep working, improving myself, improve my LinkedIn, just always keep looking for ways to improve everything I can.
So let me ask you a question. I've been meaning to ask you. Did you talk to Jane about your BSO?
Yeah, I got that started.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And how many times are you gonna go to the gym once you get through this? What's your schedule? Do you have a routine?
I try to go at least 3 times a week.
Okay. And do you belong to a gym or?
Yeah, there's one right up the road.
Okay. All right. Have you talked to a trainer about that as well?
I have not.
Probably it might be a good idea to talk to someone about that.
I'll see if my gym pass benefits have trainers, because I
Okay.
got 3 through work. So
Okay. All right. Take advantage of it. Who would like to go next? Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So for the next 2 weeks, looking to get into my HR certification course, either through Onward to Opportunity or finding a different avenue if it's not going to work for my timeline. So that's my challenge over the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Excellent. I think
Okay.
Jill raised her hand earlier too.
I did. So I'm going to continue to look at the bigger picture and not get so stuck in my head about the things I think, like the ways I think my life should be going. And doing that, it's alleviated a lot of my stress. So I'm going to keep on doing that,
Okay.
Is this related to our conversation before the
Yes.
holiday?
It is, yes.
Excellent. I was wondering how that was going.
Efren, you have your hand up, sir.
Yes, so accountability. So I'm looking at taking his advice on just pulling back. So I'm definitely gonna do that. I'm gonna walk in my commander's office tomorrow and just tell him that I can't do this no more. It's not good for the unit, it's not good for me. So I'm gonna work on that. Second thing is I'm gonna reach out to Lee and Brian, because they've already took their offer on talking to them a little more about what they're going through, so they can help me out. So that's work that. And then the last one is Air Force Cool. I want to make sure I get one of my get Air Force Cool to pay for one of my project management certifications, and then see what money else I got left over with, so I can pursue something else in HR. So get more information on Air Force Cool, so I can get a couple certifications before I walk out.
Before I let you go, Efren, can we send you an application to join us? Because we have an application too. So can we get you an application?
Yes, definitely. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
And we need to get on schedules for you and I to talk, Efren. I think we've started. I can't remember if we've got already one on there yet, but
Blake?
So continuing the diligence on my task tracking and making sure I'm getting that stuff done. And also damn, I had something and just lost it. It figures. Yeah, well, and remembering things apparently, not forgetting things as I am supposed to remember them. But yeah, that's usually a problem I have. So that would work too. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir. Lee?
Yeah, so I think, so like I mentioned, I was trying to get Air Force School to cover my my SHRM search stuff, and that's just not working out. So I just need to bite the bullet, spend the money, do it myself, and move on, so that I can knock it out. So by me doing that, I buy myself 2 more weeks of study time because I don't have to have it done before my retirement date. So the testing window closes mid-February. So that's probably the accountable thing for me. I need to just pull the trigger and stop worrying about whether the Air Force is going to pay for it or not. And if anybody has questions on Air Force School, hit me up. I've navigated that in a lot of ways as well. So
Yep.
thanks for the time today.
Investing in yourself will pay huge dividends.
Did I get frozen again? No, okay.
No, you're back.
All right, let's see here. Aaron Leroy, next 2 weeks.
Sure. I am going to today or tomorrow get into PMI and load my PMP PDUs, professional development units. I believe I have enough now to match the 60. That'll extend my certification. It'll be 13 months early, so that'll extend it out for not 3 years, but 4 years. Even stuff like this counts. Being on the MTR board that we had a couple weeks ago, counts as like 5 or 6 credits. So I'm gonna log in and hopefully get that research knocked out of the way, so it's off my mind for the next 4 years. I'm gonna challenge myself. I said this 2 cohorts ago. I want to read more. I'm coming up on my 6th month retired, so I've got one book by Stanley McChrystal called Risk, and I haven't finished my business continuity little book here, How to Not Kill Your Business, and I'm actually enjoying it. About to finish it, and then that's about it. Read more and knock out my PDUs on my PMP research. And this end of this week, I'm heading to Luke Air Force Base in Arizona to attend a fellow senior master sergeant's retirement. She and I served in AFSOC together for several years overseas. So I'm looking forward to doing that this weekend.
I was just on Luke Sunday morning.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, who am I missing here?
And Efren, I dropped something off to you over there in the chat.
Cece and Irma and Christine and Gavin. Accountability, guys.
Accountability will be just getting ready to becoming a working woman again. That's about it.
Okay, and you start your first new job as a tech support desk?
Yep, on Monday.
Nice. And you got all that through your education that you used after you retired from Air National Guard, correct?
Yes.
Good on you. You're a poster child of how to do something that benefits you in a quick term. I always have enjoyed working with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have for lunch on that first day.
Will do.
Okay. Irma and Christine.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to sort out the last 2 weeks of changes. I did try Asana, but that really didn't work well for me. So if anybody is using anything else, please advise. As far as accountability, I'm gonna do some informational interviews. I want to get some of those under my belt because I do have that problem with thinking I may want to do the job and really don't have all the ins and outs of what the job entails. So I'm really gonna dig deep into that. So Brian, I'm definitely gonna be messaging you.
So I'm gonna add to that context of that. How many informational interviews do you think we could ask you to do between now and the next time in 2 weeks?
Let's see, in 2 weeks.
Yep.
I'm not gonna raise the bar too high. I'm gonna say at least 4. So that gives me 2 each week with
Okay.
everything else that's going on.
And I agree with you too, Irma, that if you talk to Brian, because Brian really has really mastered the code for figuring out how to reach people.
11 a.m.
Reach the code there, on how to do that. That's just an amazing process that he shared with us today.
I agree.
Miss Christine and Gavin, you are our last two in today's group.
So I'm gonna finish my move down to DC this week, and I want to knock out my ITF plus certification by the next meeting. So that way, just be done with it, and then SEC plus by the end of the year, and then ready for Skill Bridge.
Good on you, man. It's always difficult moving, isn't it?
I like it. It's an opportunity to take inventory of stuff and clean out some old things.
Gotcha. Okay. Christine, you are the last one in the group today. Next 2 weeks, accountability.
All right. Well, I hope to get the website up and running that my daughter and I are working on, and really have something to share. I'd share it today, but it's just not done. There's a lot of links that don't go anywhere. You've got the
Gotcha.
homepage. Other than that, hope to get about 5 really good applications out in the next 2 weeks. So that's it.
Okay. I had one question to ask Lee. Can we send you an application?
Who?
Lee Mills,
Lee.
can we send you an application? Sorry.
Application, join the group?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get those to you. Okay. Don, any last words? It is Giving Tuesday. It is Giving Tuesday.
Yeah, the one thing, we would, one thing I was talking to Bunker Labs about and getting out to their community was, we're a nonprofit, we exist on donations. So if you guys are inclined, if you know other people who are inclined, we would love recommendations, be able to share some of the things Matt and I have both posted today on our LinkedIn and probably on Facebook about Giving Tuesday with some links. So we do make this free for you guys, but if you're so inclined, or if you know others who are inclined, would love to have you put a word out and say, hey, this is really a worthwhile group. We need them in this space, because we try to be different, right? It's about teams of people with accountability. So many of the transition programs are just show up, sit in, walk away, and there's no follow-up. And we're trying to give that accountability and follow-up, and you have a team of people to work with. So that's what we're different. So we'd appreciate any support.
What I love about a group like this is how we were giving back and forth between each other. This is what really makes us a dynamic group, and I really want to applaud today's group. It was really awesome to see people work together, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, guys.
Now, business leaders pay hundreds to $1,000, $1,500 a month for this opportunity to sit with their peers and facilitate it. That's the value of this group. So just so you're aware. Thanks all. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Good to see you. Thank you, Aaron Leroy.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Take care.
Hey, Don, I was trying to real quick add in a link to Slack there in the chat, but hopefully you guys can email Lee and Efron to get them. I dropped some stuff in there this week, and I'm just starting to find that it's slow, but it's not slow, but engagement with this slow, but it's starting to pick up a little bit.
Yeah, and I haven't been on a couple of weeks since I've been gone, so I will jump on there today and
I like
I'll
it.
get that out to.
I've been to get myself familiar with it. So.
Yeah, that's it, right? Everything is about familiarity with it.
Yep.
But I'll get that. I'll get that.
That's all I got. I'm gonna go get a haircut and a
for
beard trim, and come back and watch the World Cup.
Thanks for jumping in. That's right, 12 o'clock.
1 o'clock, I think.
1 o'clock.
It's 1 o'clock.
Coverage starts at 12. The game's at 1.
I was in Mountain Time last week looking at it. It was 12 o'clock, so I got to adjust my head.
Got it. All right, gentlemen. It was a pleasure. Talk soon.
Thanks for jumping in, Aaron.
Yeah,
Don, I
absolutely.
got a quick question.
Sure.
Do you guys have an annual report for the Military Transition Roundtable? Or like a PowerPoint that you give to new members that, talk about some of the things you did, some of the things you hope to do, your achievements over the past year, like an organization.
So we have a flyer that talks about the program features. You should have gotten that. We are working, and we'll put out one in the first quarter about the kind of 2022 in review. Is that what you're thinking?
Right. Yeah. I was wondering who's working on that, Don?
Well, Matt and I are 2 out of the 3 on the board. So you're looking at it.
Well, I was wondering if you guys needed any help with, maybe putting it together or, looking at some of the data.
Yeah, we would love to. Let's set up a meeting and walk through it.
Okay, thanks, Don. Yeah, I just thought it was something, that maybe I can get back on Giving Tuesday is, looking at the data, maybe, helping you guys
Yeah.
tell a story.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome, Christine. Thank
Okay.
you much.
Thank you very
All right.
much. Let's I'll shoot you a note today and we can set up a time to talk and we'll get Matt on and we'll talk about kind of vision, what we're thinking. But exactly
Excellent.
what you're talking about. And we just did an award package. We didn't win it, but it's the San Antonio Business Journal. They called it it's like hottest companies or something like that. And we started looking at how we've grown women, how we attendees, how we've grown spouse attendees, how we've grown our alumni ranks, how the number of cohorts. We started looking at in various different ways, and we're trying to capture those testimonies. So we're getting a lot of material we could use.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to it. All right.
All right. Hey, thanks
Take
much.
care.
Appreciate it.
Sure. All right. Bye.
Well, that's huge.
That
All
is
right.
huge. Okay,
So I will be on 11:30 to lead.
okay.
Anything else?
No?
All right. See you then.
All right, until then, bye.
Bye.